to Cinema Bing Bong, your monthly film magazine program looking at what's on, what's good, and what looks like it could be kind of terrible. I am Amelia.
And I'm Rebecca.
Yeah, and it's our very first ever episode, so I kind of thought we would kick things off with a bit of a survey, looking back at our favourite films of 2023. What was your favourite, Rebecca? What films of 2023 were good? Which ones were good?
I thought that we should. Okay, when I said before, I think that we should do like a little introduction. I meant like about what we maybe like fill in the gaps for fans of the old podcast, and then say like what this new podcast is going to be, because they might be upset because they message us and stuff.
All right. Throw on the brakes. Let's give a little bit of personal background. Rebecca, who are we?
We are two. This is what I said before. I'm so bad at this.
Oh, you're bad at
we're two New Zealand citizens, and we were born in the year of the metal sheep.
You're banned. I'm doing it. We are two good friends from New Zealand. I'm now living in Australia. We previously did a podcast about the Brokenwood Mysteries, which had to go on indefinite hiatus because Rebecca became a world-famous author. And now,
oh my God, that was annoying me.
That's literally true. Now we decided to come back and do a podcast about something different because it's several years later. And we're going to talk about movies and stuff because they're good, and we both watch a lot of them.
They're good. We watch a lot of them. We have a different perspective, and
we're both nuts.
That's not what I meant. And also the problem with our old podcast was that it was so niche that people were like, oh yeah, I'd love to listen to it, but I can't because I'm not interested in the subject.
Whereas everyone cares about the movies.
Yep.
Or at least that's what spending all my time on Twitter makes me think.
Every man, woman, and child who has been denied their supply of cocaine. Did you read that?
Yeah, in the UK they seized enough cocaine to fuel everyone.
And the headline said enough for every man, woman, and child.
We could have had a whole new disco revival, but we missed it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going back on the road. Do another scrooge sound.
Skrrr.
All right, Rebecca, what's one of the good movies from 2023 to you?
Strange Way of Life.
Years ago, you asked me what two men could do living together on a ranch. I'll answer you now.
Okay.
I've seen it 4 times. I watched it 4 times.
Really?
Yeah, I watched it, I got to the end, and then I was watching it on my projector, and I was like, yeah, go again.
It's like half an hour long, right?
Yeah, I think it's 36 minutes. And then...
So this is the gay cowboy film from Spanish director Pedro... How do you say his last name? Almodovar?
Yeah, Pedro Almodovar. Something like that.
Good enough.
I loved the gay cowboys. I loved the dialogue. I love dialogue that's sort of just brings in other stuff. It's not a great explanation. I love dialogue that's well, remember what you said that night, and then just keeps going. And this film is very much like that. But you remember what you said that night with the Mexican whores in the wine cellar?
Yeah, for being half an hour, it feels like it's part of a much bigger world. And I think especially with oh God, I feel especially with what's been going on in movies recently, I feel every time someone says something, you expect it to then that's going to be the thing in the third act. And it's nice to have, it's nice to have them talk in a way that builds the characters and builds out
nice
their life. without it necessarily everything being like, you know, plot hole, cinema sins, ding, like driven, directed.
It's nice to see a character rather than a vehicle for a celebrity.
Yeah. Even though it is like, it's Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal. So it is like two cool hot guys.
And it is, what's the brand in it?
No idea.
Oh, man.
Levi's.
It's not Levi's. Oh, I'm looking it up. I'm not just trying to recall from my own head. It's Yves Saint Laurent.
Uh-huh. Wait, what does Yves Saint Laurent have to do with it?
They like did the costumes or whatever, but it like says like Yves Saint Laurent like in the beginning, and then people were like mad about it because they use their own font instead of using the cowboy font. People always have some kind of problem with everything. Unless it's like a bad movie, then they seem to have no problems with them.
Well, Raz, you making me watch this film has like sent my life in a whole new direction. Because since you got me to watch this like over Christmas when I was home alone for 7 days watching like 100 films, I've just become obsessed with old mate Pedro. I got
and you didn't know him so well before.
No, we were not besties. I was kind of aware of him as like a cool. He's that cool Spanish director, and I think I had seen a couple of his movies when I was a teenager in a way that I don't really remember. But oh my god, I've seen now like a bunch of his movies. All About My Mother is like the greatest film I've ever seen in my life.
I haven't seen it. So the only other movie of his that I've seen is Julieta, which I like just did not like. But
oh no.
Here's the thing, I was 24.
We all make mistakes, you know.
Which I mean is it's like I was thinking about this yesterday, that I think that 24 is like a very untrustworthy age. You don't have the like thrill of youth, but you also don't know like anything.
Yeah, I see people tweeting all the time like, I shouldn't have to put up with this. I'm 24. I'm 25. And you're like, oh, no.
Like, I'm 25.
You should be having to put up with that. Sorry.
Yeah, they're like, I'm 25. I should be a CEO and I should be married.
No.
No, you should be furthering your education of the world.
But now I'm like I'm a full Pedro stan. All About My Mother, some of the best representation of trans people I've ever seen in a movie, which which is extreme. Was unexpected to me, who just dove into like whichever ones people seem to think were good.
They did a Almodovar runway on Drag Race Spain.
Oh, was it good?
Yeah, it was good, but it was one of those things where you're like loving it, but then you're also like, despairing about the state of your own culture.
Oh yeah,
There's no way that we would have like a director like that.
The Taika Waititi runway.
Yeah, and then everyone would be like, well, I've only seen Hunt for the Wilder People.
I'm dressed as Thor. All right.
Oh my god.
This is going to make me sound like a wanker when I reveal my favorite film of 2023.
Okay.
Because I don't know anyone else who has seen this movie. And it seems to not be available like anywhere.
Is this the Japanese one?
This is the Japanese one. So at the Melbourne Film Festival, I went and saw Remembering Every Night.
Today, 誕生日でいつもと違うことができそうな気がしてます。
My girlfriend chose it because she thought it looked cool. I didn't know anything about it. We went to it and I was like crying. I was like losing my mind. It's like an incredible film. It's one of the only films that I've ever given a star rating to on Letterboxd, because I usually
Yeah, you just log them.
I can't be bothered giving a star rating. I don't think it tells you that much about what I think about the movie. But this one, I thought that the overall rating was too low, and I thought it was my duty to give it 5 stars. So this movie is called Remembering Every Night. It's written and directed by Yui Kiyohara, and it's like an extremely slow movie. So it's set in this like weird outer suburb of Tokyo where all the buildings look the same because it was this like development, and it's like legendarily confusing to go around because you'll go down a set of stairs and then you'll be in the road that you were on before but in a different direction.
Is it a real suburb?
Yeah, it's a real place. So they just like went and filmed here.
What's it called?
Tama Newtown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that I know.
Yeah. And so the movie just follows these 3 women whose paths only intersect very briefly and not even in like that poignant ways mostly. They kind of like see each other across the street. But they're 3 women in like different stages of their life. One is checks electricity meters. One of them there's like away at uni but has come back, I think if I recall correctly, the anniversary of her friend's death. And then the other one is like, she's an older lady struggling to find a job. And so she decides to go and search for her friend who sent her a card being like, come visit my house. And then she never did it. And they just kind of like wander around the suburb all day. And it's really hard to explain what's so beautiful about it. Cause it's like, it has this really crystalline cinematography, and it's just this like really tender meditation on like memory and loss. And it was just so beautiful, and it's so frustrating to me that no one else has seen it.
No one else has seen it. I haven't seen it. I wasn't at the Melbourne Film Festival. I didn't go to any film festivals last year.
Well, the Auckland Film Festival is the New Zealand one is less and less of an actual event. So.
Oh my god! And I wasn't in New Zealand for the like 6 days it was on or whatever.
Well, I'm praying that it becomes like more available somehow because I would really like other people to see it. So, because it's like, you can say to someone like, "Oh, it uses time like Tarkovsky."
But they're not going to know what that is.
No one cares about that. You can be like, "Oh, there's a great scene where they go and look at that ancient pottery, the stuff that's all orbs."
And then you're saying that like you're expecting the person to be familiar with the orbs.
With ancient Japanese ceramic styles. But yeah, I can't recommend this film enough. It was so beautiful to me.
It sounds similar to Perfect Days.
Okay, which I have not seen yet.
Which you've not seen, but I have seen.
It's very Japanese. It has the same cinematographer as Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy. So it's doing
which
that like
neither of us liked.
I didn't like
right?
it, but I like that director usually. And the cinematography I think is very characteristic of like this thing in modern Japanese cinema where everything is very like crystalline and like pristine.
I think with the
movies.
wheel, I think with the Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy, I just like really wanted something more to like happen. I understand that was not the point of the movie, but I saw it with my friend, and we were the only people in the theater. So we were just kind of like, boo, like come on, like kiss.
I watched it by myself and ate a whole pizza. And it was one of the saddest experiences of my life.
Wow. Yeah, okay, that wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, it's actually it's one of these films that it's really annoying to me that I didn't like it because I loved like the directors made another movie in the same year, Drive My Car.
Which everyone loved.
Which rules, which is so good. And I just feel like Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy was trying to do a lot of the same stuff, but it didn't really land for me. I think, I don't know, part of like the tone, because it was in small vignettes. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't always love, I think that's a triptych movie, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And that there's like, there's a massive risk of just not enjoying one section and just being like, who's that?
I think both of us have got to go back and watch more 1970s horror anthologies to really get in the spirit.
What?
Yeah, there's one. There's a really good one about like an evil puppet maker. That's the frame story.
How is that going to get us in the spirit for what?
Because then you see, oh, the third one sucks, but then you go, oh.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you meant like it's just going to sort of like bring us to life and that we'll see beauty in every moment.
No. Although that's what I'm aiming for by trying to get everyone to watch Remembering every night.
Okay.
So I'm looking at our show notes, Raz. You've got a very interesting entry under your favourite films of 2023, which I was not expecting.
Which I didn't post anywhere publicly.
I feel like even when you talked to me quite a lot about this movie, and at no point did you say, it's my favourite. I thought it was really good. I was under the impression that...
Well, I don't know if it's my favourite and I thought it was really good, but it was like the most... excited that I felt. It was I don't know, I felt something like there's like my judgment on like what movies are the most significant are the ones where I felt the most.
Okay, that makes sense.
And for me that was Maestro.
If summer doesn't sing in you, then nothing sings in you. And if nothing sings in you, then you can't make music. Something she told me.
Hello, I'm Lenny.
Maestro. You felt Leonard Bernstein coming into you every day.
Oh my God. But I was just like loving this experience. This was the last time I went to event cinemas because it costs like $25 now. And that's like, you know, for any foreign people, that's the main chain of cinemas.
But it was all worth it to see.
Oh, it was all worth it.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't, you know, obviously I wasn't sold, but I saw it the day that it came out, so there hadn't been takes.
Yeah.
You know, there'd been takes from like wankers who saw it at a festival or whatever, but press screenings, but there hadn't been sort of a universal disgust.
So I've been putting off seeing this because I feel like I'm going to have to watch it eventually, you know.
Well, I mean, the only other people I know who've seen it, my friend and her boyfriend, and he cried because he thought it was so beautiful.
Okay, well, this is a very different picture than I thought. I kind of thought it was like a campy mess is the impression that I've got of it.
I didn't cry because I thought it was so beautiful. I was crying because, you know, it's like, I was crying because it's sad.
I think most people would say that was crying because it was so beautiful.
No, I mean, like, because there's a death.
Okay, all right.
You know, you were kind of like, oh, that's sad. Death comes. But I mean, yeah, it was like, there's not many movies where you both like are like laughing at crying and being like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? But also at the same time being like, I can't believe that they've done this.
Wow.
Like, okay, so without getting too much into it, I just loved that the whole thing was that Maestro's life would have like essentially have been perfect if he could fuck young guys while no one was looking.
Okay.
Like, you know, he's got this like brilliant career, he's got this like wife and family, and his wife is like, you know, his wife is like, and she like has this little accent, even though she's like supposed to be Chilean. Random. But I mean, like, obviously it's a real person and they like modeled it off her accent, but it's, you know, it's the past. So she's like, please, can I just ask you to be a little more discreet? And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he's just like making out with some like student in the hallway, like immediately. And then he like meets a baby and he's like, I've fucked both your parents.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's just, I just love this like chaotic bisexual movie. And they're like, and then there's like one scene where like his daughter finds out that he like is fucking all these young guys, and she's like, Daddy, please tell me it's not true. And then he's like, you see, the thing is, when you achieve a degree of success, everybody becomes jealous of you.
He can't help that he's the king, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone wants a slice.
Yeah. And then, yeah. I mean, like, can we say what happens at the end? Well, basically, like...
No, I haven't seen
Well, it's a real
yet.
story.
But,
Okay. Well, I'll just say, like, in the end, I think you sort of expect that he's going to, like, learn a lesson or something. He doesn't.
okay, good.
It just keeps going.
All right, I'm going to watch Maestro and then I'll report back
it's
next
like,
time.
The movie is like, the moral of the movie is like, he lived like that till the day he died.
Hell yeah.
Which is like, I was just like, oh my God, fuck yeah. And like the audience.
It's like the Anti-Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it is the oh my God, it's the Anti-Oppenheimer. No one knows because no one will see it because they're like, oh, it's shitty. Yeah, there's like a bit where he's like dancing. There's like a bit where it like zooms. He gets like, it starts by saying he like has this opportunity to direct at Carnegie Hall. It like zooms out and there's actually like a naked guy in his penis.
So
and everyone just like clapping each other on the shoulder and being like, "Don't be sore at me.
do we think
I'm marrying a woman."
Do we think Bradley Cooper has the juice?
I think that he has a different juice than people have like pigeonholed him as.
Is he going to make another movie that you're going to want to watch?
Obviously he's going to make another movie, but I don't know what that movie's going to be or if I'm going to want to watch it.
Okay.
I think like, what else have I seen him in? Licorice Pizza. That was good.
Yeah, he was good in Licorice Pizza.
He was good in Licorice Pizza. Oh, what was that other thing that he was in? Like Star is Born. I don't want to see him doing that.
No.
I don't want to see him doing that. I want to see him unleashed.
We can only pray that whatever he makes next is fabulous.
We want it, like the juice we want is that, you know when you buy a juice that's like 100% real juice and you start drinking it and you're like, oh, this is too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want that.
He's like nectarine juice with pulp.
Yeah. And I'm like in the cinema like, oh, fuck yeah. And the other people there were like a middle-aged guy with like a much younger woman.
Oh.
And of a more historically oppressed ethnic group. And like a Korean guy who was just on his phone the whole time. You know, one of those like cool Korean guys who's like in Auckland CBD.
Yes.
He was just like on his phone the whole time. Then he left with half an hour to go. He didn't like watch the movie at all.
Damn.
And that was us. That was the 4 people at the movie Maestro on opening day.
Well, who knows? Maybe it'll win an Oscar. Okay, my other favourite, and I know that you were more cold on this.
Yeah, which was hard.
I loved May December.
I don't think we have enough hot dogs.
And I would have loved to have loved it.
What? Say more about that.
But then you said something really interesting about this.
I don't remember. I never remember anything I say. So I'd love to hear about it.
The point is that I didn't enjoy it so much because I had seen every single moment of the movie discussed and like joked about and made into GIFs and stuff on Twitter before I saw it. And so then every scene in the movie, I knew what was going to happen. And I didn't find that very interesting.
No,
and then
I can imagine.
Sucks to have hyperphantasia.
Okay. Yeah. I don't really remember things very well. I'm more
And you can't
vibe-based.
see visual. You can't see images in your head.
No, so if someone does a tweet about a scene about hot dog, that is not in any way going to impinge on my enjoyment of seeing that thing happen.
And I'm gonna be like, oh, I've already seen this because I saw a sentence that described it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway, so for those who have missed who have missed the bus on May December.
Which is fine because it came out in New Zealand last week.
It's so the release schedule has been so confusing because I know a bunch of people who saw it at film festivals, and I was gutted I missed it at film festivals, and then it came out on Netflix, so I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to watch it on stupid Netflix. So I watched it and was like, oh, that rules. And then now, like last week, I was like, oh, now it's in cinemas in Australia.
Now it's in cinemas in Australia and New Zealand.
So I might have to go see it again. But anyway, it's a film about a woman and her much younger husband. Their backstory is that she was like a predator who like sexually predated on him when he was like 12. She went to prison. In prison, she has his babies. She comes out, they get married, and now he's like an adult and she is an older adult, and that's kind of where the film takes place. And it's about this actress who's coming to talk to them because she wants to make a movie about their situation. And it's directed by Todd Haynes, who has made has made all kinds of different kinds of movies.
Do you want to say some of the names of them?
So he made, have you seen Velvet Goldmine?
No, I haven't.
Velvet Goldmine is incredible. It's like extremely over the top glam rock movie about like, what if David Bowie faked his own death and also was like in a gay relationship with Iggy Pop, but all the names are changed?
And he made the Karen Carpenter one with the dolls.
With the dolls. And then he also
we wanted to see when we were 19.
Sadly, it's banned most places.
But we missed it.
Yeah,
camp.
He made a bunch of other movies you might have seen. Safe, Far From Heaven, I'm Not There, Carol. I think a lot more people saw
most
Carol.
People are going to know Carol.
But like he was really firing on all cylinders with May December. Like for me, it's like the acting in it is incredible. It's Natalie Portman is the actress who's come to town. Julianne Moore is the like predator. Charles Melton is her husband from Riverdale. I didn't know he was such a good actor. I just thought he was hot.
I didn't know that he was from Riverdale.
You should watch some Riverdale. It's
I have seen some Riverdale.
You didn't remember?
No, this was like a long time ago.
I can't even remember who he plays. Fangs? I don't know. Maybe not Fangs.
I've only seen the
Riverdale
first couple of episodes.
Get in touch.
Sound off in the comments.
But like, so the performances are these really like kind of reserved, well-studied performances, but still slightly over the top. Like Julianne Moore has a lisp the whole time.
Not the whole time.
Not the whole time. When she is nervous, she has a lisp. But it's really fascinating because it uses all of these like weird distancing things. Like there's all these like quite long shots, and the soundtrack is like they re-recorded the soundtrack from The Go-Between, and then like it just blasts really loudly at like slightly awkward moments, and there's lots of shots like, you know, it's just really good to me.
So this made you feel something.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, Remembering Every Night, like, it made me cry, and it was really, like, emotional. But this, I'm just, like, I was screaming, because I just, like, couldn't believe that I feel like I reacted to this like how you reacted to Maestro.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe they were doing the things they were doing, because it's, like, it's really trying to like frame these things in a way that makes the audience really uncomfortable, and I love that shit. And I think the discourse around this film has been totally bonkers because people just don't know what to do with their feelings about it. Some people were like, it's not funny, actually, it's really dark, and then other people were like, you miss the point if you don't see that it's like a campy, like dark comedy. And it's just like, no, it's doing all of those things at once, and it's like that is what is effective about it. And the fact that you are reacting in this way, and then you feeling this weird need to justify your reaction is like that's the engine of the film doing what it's meant to be doing.
I mean, it's a huge issue with all creative media at the moment that people have sort of lost the ability to watch things with taboo topics in them without thinking that they are immoral for enjoying them.
Yes. And I found that so fascinating with May December as well.
Big old problem.
Because people are doing this kind of like deep, like archaeological research to try and figure out what the film's moral stance is. Like people are like digging into interviews and like highlighting specific phrasing by Julianne Moore or by Todd Haynes. And it's crazy to me. I'm like, you could just watch the movie. You can just see what happens in the movie and realize what the like position of the film is. You can see the movie
and see what happens in the movie, and you don't even need to. You don't need to sit at the end of a movie and think, what was the moral stance of this movie, and what was the moral stance of each sort of like individual involved in creating this.
It's been totally weird.
It's just weird all the time. I mean, like, the sort of conversation around everything is like, is this 30-year-old man being abused by being in this movie about a controversial topic?
Could be.
He's not white, so maybe it's abuse.
Watch and find out. But yeah, May December just really like, it just hit everything for me. It was, yeah. And I think what you were saying before about scripts that kind of like paint this like bigger picture, that are like aren't afraid to refer to things that you never see or learn more about. I think there's like a lot of that going on here. It just like, it feels like you're kind of like looking through a peephole at like a story that there's a lot more to, and you never quite get the answers that you want to get. And that's like, and the film basically like laughs at you about that. It's like, you're never going to find out. You're never going to find out whether these things are justified or not. And the fact that you want to see them justified or not is like an issue with you, maybe.
That's about how much information I want from a film.
Just a bit.
I mean, like half. I don't want the like whole thing to be like sketched out.
Yeah, absolutely.
One time I did this. I was like in writing workshop, and the topic was like open or closed endings, and then the person like running the workshop was like, "Here's an example of an open ending," and they had grossly like misunderstood what that meant, and they were showing us all these endings where of books, and including the Del Toro quest, where
not what I thought you were gonna say,
where it was like they left it open because it had like an epilogue where it showed that all the characters married each other, and then they had these kids.
Oh yes.
And then the kids went on their own adventures, so that's like a very open ending.
Because something else happens in the world.
Because something else happens in the world. Oh my god! Oh, what a flashback! I mean, just you can. Okay, well you can't, but one could picture a room of adults between 27 and 60, sort of reading this excerpt from Del Toro Quest, like, okay, this is worth it.
I just want to briefly touch on, I know we've each got 3 films down here. I think I have a lot less to say about my last one.
I'm not going to talk about my last one.
At all? You going to say what it is?
Well, I was going to say that my favorite movie overall of 2023 was Tar.
You want to dance the mask, you must service the composer.
But that was over a year ago now because it came out in January last year here. And it's done.
I also loved Tar. Maybe we can talk about it more another time.
Just that was like also just like in the cinema. I saw a preview as well, so I didn't know what was going to happen or how people felt about it or whatever. And it was just like being in the cinema, like, yes, Tar, like, no, Tar, like, don't do that. And like, yes, Tar, like.
Don't be a hypocrite about pencils, Tar. How could you?
Don't take that Russian woman to a weird Berlin restaurant. That sucks. She doesn't even like you.
I really liked Tar, and I really liked Theatre Camp.
What up, Adirondack? Listen up. Squad, gang, maybe zip it. Can we just get you guys to shit?
Oh, what a beautiful.
Yo.
Yeah.
Which I also feel like it seems like it did okay in America, but I don't really know anyone else down here who watched it unless I forced them to.
Well, it seems like we've heard a lot more about Bottoms than Theatre Camp, which I haven't seen Theatre Camp, but I feel are like in a similar sort of category of audience.
Which makes me sad because Bottoms was maybe my most disappointing film of 2023. I really hated it a lot. Sorry to everyone who I love and respect and care about who enjoyed Bottoms.
I didn't enjoy it either. But it was one of those films where you're watching it and you're trying to like remove yourself from like script doctoring it in your head.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's so many like scenes where you're just like, oh, I mean, something should be happening here though.
I really, really liked the scene where AO was kicking the can.
I was
like, oh, she's literally kicking a can. And then she met that older woman who was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I liked that. But the rest of the movie, I was like, this is told in the wrong order. The peaks are at the wrong time.
So, I mean, Bottoms. Theatre Camp is like a totally different kind of movie. It's basically, It takes the formula of like Christopher Guest mockumentaries. So like Best in Show.
I did not
A
know
Mighty
that's what it was
Wind.
like.
Yeah. So the way that those films are made is that they basically build a bunch of characters and write like a plot for a film. And so they write out like the start and end point and like specific things they need to happen in some scenes. And then all of the film is like improvised around that skeleton. Which as far as I know is how they made Theatre Camp. And it's really, really good. It's about, so basically there's this like struggling theatre camp in the Adirondacks run by Amy Sedaris. When Amy Sedaris gets sick, her son has to take it over and try and like make it work with the help of the like very kind of like Arrested Development people who have ended up being the teachers at the camp. Basically people who never wanted to leave theatre camp.
Right. That kind of Arrested Development.
Yes, not the TV
Not
show.
the actors from Arrested Development. Who's the son played by?
Jimmy Tatro, who was in American Vandal. He's like the jock guy.
I don't know. This sounds very AI to me. I haven't heard of this actor or that movie.
It's a TV series that was on Netflix.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It's
on
also
Netflix. Well, I don't know about. What's
also a
going on there.
mockumentary. So he's like a big jock guy, and he's like into crypto and finance YouTubing. And so he is very like at odds with the other people in the camp. So there's Ben Platt, who I thought was bad because I only knew him from that terrible musical that he was in that everyone made fun of.
Right.
Dear
I
Evan
know him.
Hansen.
Yeah, I didn't know him from that. I knew him from that Netflix Ryan Murphy show about the election.
Oh yes, he's pretty good in that.
Yeah, he's good in that.
He's fantastic in this. And Molly Gordon is the other kind of lead. She also co-directed it. She's in Shiva Baby and The Bear. She's been in a bunch of stuff. And she co-directed it with Nick Lieberman. And basically it's like this extremely charming... there's just so much chemistry between the characters in it because they are all clearly like theater nerds and they all know each other and care about each other, and it was just like a really it was a really nice surprise for me to see like a really well constructed comedy, because I feel like improvisation in
see
film
it
comedy
often.
has got like a really bad name now.
Yeah.
Because of all of those, like the Ghostbusters remake where they're just riffing.
Was that improv?
It wasn't all improv, but they let the scenes run on at the ends where they have that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, and everyone in this film is really good. Like the supporting cast has like Ayo Edebiri and Patty Harrison. Like it's just really good. It's real good. So I recommend it to nerds, basically. If the idea of someone like singing a song with an auto harp and a recorder to a bunch of kids is like fun to you or feels relatable, like that's what this movie is.
Oh, there was this person on the 1% Club last night. The UK quiz show where they have 100 people in the audience and, they have questions and then you get out when you get the question wrong and then like you see if you're the last person who can get the 1% question right. And they they talk to people in the audience and they like ask this guy, they were like, what's your name? And he was like, oh, I'm Daniel Glastonbury. And they were like, hey, where are you from? And he said, oh, I'm from the States. And they were like, what's brought you to the UK? And he was like, oh, it was just full of racists and homophobes. But it was like,
what?
It was really interesting because you sort of like saw behind the facade because Lee Mack was like, can you say something again that's maybe a little bit more upbeat? And you knew that he didn't think that this was going to make it to the cut of the show, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
And he was like, well, what did you do in America? And he was like, I'm a maths teacher. I was a maths teacher. That's why it was easy for me to get this last question right. And then he was like, what do you do now? And he was like, oh, I'm a pirate magician.
Hell yeah.
And then later on, they like spoke to him again, and he said something about his wife. And Lee Mack was like, "What does your wife do?" And he was like, "Oh, she's also a pirate magician."
That's beautiful. I think the team that made Theatre Camp should make a film about pirate magicians next. Personally,
yeah, I don't know what I can't remember what the purpose of that was.
Should we
leave it in? Leave it in.
I'm going to leave it in. Should we talk about the Oscars?
Yes.
Good evening and welcome to the Academy Awards. This really is the biggest movie event of the year, and we're here to honour all this year's incredible films and the actors and actresses that have starred in them. Now, the Academy loves to salute range.
All right. So,
okay, well, how are we going to talk about this?
I mean, I feel like all the discourse about the Oscars this year has been about Barbie, and then people going, oh, people complaining about Barbie should really care about Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes.
Yeah, that has been that has largely been the Oscars discourse. For me, it's been more like, oh, I wish I could have seen these films earlier.
In time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, The Zone of Interest has come out this week here.
Yeah, it came out. We're recording this on the 25th of February, and it came out on the 22nd.
Yeah, it came out. Movies come out here on Thursdays. Yeah, and I was going to go and see it the other day, but we were supposed to record this, but Amelia was sick. So I saw Perfect Days instead because that was what was on. And yeah, maybe I'll see it tonight. I don't know.
I'm so hyped for Zone of Interest. It seems right up my alley. It's slow. I love that. It's very dark and serious. Love that.
Yeah, it's not up my alley.
It's got a weird soundtrack. Love that. So I can't wait.
It's not up my alley, but I love it when things aren't American, and I speak German, so...
Ding, ding, ding. It's ticking everyone's boxes. American Fiction, I don't know if it even got a cinematic release over here.
It did not.
No.
I have seen it.
Thoughts?
And I was like, oh, okay. It's one of those ones where you're like, you really like want to enjoy it and think it's really good. I found it like enjoyable, but I just didn't... It didn't scream like award winner to me, but it does sort of say rounds out a 10.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that I don't know if I'm ready to say this on the first episode of the podcast, but I think that American Fiction and this, you know, in the same vein as Killers of the Flower Moon, are both not movies that would be made in New Zealand today because of the point that we're at in our race relations or like race discourse is different than that in the States.
However, counterpoint, we're running backwards quite quickly. So
we are running backwards quite quickly, but yeah. But, you know, the premise of American Fiction is like, what if a black person was middle class?
Yes. Okay. I don't know anything about it, so okay.
Oh, it's just so the movie's just about this man who is sort of like a Brandon Taylor type. But he's straight. And he has sort of like a middling literary career. And he's like sick of other black people sort of exploiting their race to write sort of books like Push, you know, the book that Precious was based on.
Yes.
He thinks that like other middle class black people are sort of putting on this persona in order to sell a lot of copies because white people like really enjoy that sort of like race baity stuff.
Okay, I mean, that sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, but I mean, like, that's sort of it. Like, and then he tries to write this, like, book about, you know, about, like, gangsters and stuff. But he has to, like, really, like, phone it in to do that because he's this really nerdy guy who's from sort of, like, beach area in Massachusetts, I think. And then he, like, sort of goes too deep. He's like writing this anonymously and he like gets this like massive book deal and they're like wanting to do a movie and it's the guy from the OC is for some reason the movie director.
Ooh.
What's his name? Adam
Oh,
Brody?
Yes.
And then he like, but like, I think the disappointment in the film was that it sort of like builds up more and more, you know, he gets himself like deeper and deeper into this mess in that he's on the panel for a literary competition and he knows that he is being like tokenized in his position on this judging board and then his book gets nominated and everyone else on the panel like wants the book to win. But he knows that it's like actually bullshit. I kind of want to see this movie. Am I selling it to you?
Yeah.
I thought, like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie. I thought it was fine, but it's very much like my own work life.
Yes, absolutely.
Not something that I like totally.
And not a particularly like incisive look at.
Not an incisive look at the issues that are real. And then I just, the ending is quite like, yeah, and then, I don't know. This is like, I mean, that's sort of the ending.
Yeah.
The ending is like, you know, it like builds and builds and builds. Because it's like very like plot heavy movie. And then it's like, well, imagine if this was the end.
I see. Yeah, and I mean, I guess not to be too controversial on our first episode, but I should say we were both pretty let down by Killers of the Flower Moon. I think I personally it felt to me like it thought it was a lot more hard hitting than it was.
Yeah.
And the actual like structure of it was quite messy in a way that like it just didn't really connect with me. And I think it's obviously like it's bad to see a movie and like immediately become script doctor for it. But it seems,
like I said before,
it seems so obvious to me that this story should have been from the perspective of the main woman. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. Lily Gladstone's Molly Burkhart. Lily Gladstone's, yeah, because all of the scenes with her are. You can tell that there's been a lot of work being put into making them have this level of like authenticity and stuff, and it really makes those scenes like sing in a way that the rest of the movie.
And her character was originally not in it very much, right?
Yeah, so originally
they rewrote it.
Yeah, because it was originally meant to be about like the OSS, the formation of the OSS. So like the old version of like the FBI gets formed in order to deal with these murders, and it was about that happening. And then people were like, "Oh, this very much sidelines the indigenous characters," and so so they rewrote a bunch of the film to be about the relationship between Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Lily Gladstone's character, because he is involved in the murders of her family and ultimately attempts to murder her. Spoilers for Killers of the Flower Moon, a film I think everyone in the world has seen now.
This industry, the position that the American film industry is in at the moment, is not prepared to tell is not prepared to tell a story from a purely indigenous angle.
No.
It's not there yet. Which I think is like, maybe the way that it's told was suitable for its intended audience, but its intended audience was not us.
Yeah.
From like, going from this country that has like, I think the like indigenous population of the US is like less than 1%. And here the indigenous population is like nearly 20%.
Yeah.
So we don't sort of like have this sort of like feeling of like this is a very rare story, or like, a lot of people were upset about people like going to the toilet and stuff in the film because they thought that you needed to like show respect for indigenous people by sitting still for 3 hours. Which like just seemed like really, really like bizarre to me, because when I saw it, everyone in the cinema was Māori or Pacifica, and most people were on their phones the whole time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's more that we could say about that.
Yeah,
but we
won't go into it, but it's like, it was one of those like cultural products where you become very aware that you live in a different culture.
Yeah. I was watching it thinking, oh, I'm not American at all, am I?
Yeah.
I'm sure Australians will get a lot out of it.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I wanted to, we can't talk about everything that's nominated for an Oscar. I want to talk about a few things that I am excited about. I would love for Mark Ruffalo to win supporting actor for Poor Things.
For Poor Things, okay.
I thought Poor Things, the discourse around it was very odd to me. Like it was sold
brief.
to me as very sensationalized, as like very sensational and kind of like dramatic and gross and sexual. And I saw it and I thought it was quite a fun romp. And
yeah, I saw it. I saw a preview screening for that too. Oh, and it all went wrong. The electricity was out at the cinema.
Oh no!
We had to sit there for like nearly an hour, and it was super hot. And but this was at Capitol, so like everyone was like being really polite about it. But you could tell that some people were like, "I think we're gonna have to leave if this takes like more than 5 more minutes." But yeah, I saw it before I read anything about it, so that was like great too.
It was, yeah. I thought it was like, I'm a really big Yorgos Lanthimos fan, the director. I really have been enjoying stuff that Emma Stone's been involved in recently. I feel like
The Curse.
Yeah, I think especially as a producer, she's been choosing some really cool projects.
Yeah, like a lot, because like obviously I hate La La Land.
We all hate La La Land.
People always talk about it, and you're like, why are you still talking about that?
Best forgotten.
Maybe that's a like American cultural product as well. What was I going to say about Poor Things? Yeah, I loved Poor Things. I didn't really like the last third.
I think it was a lot more digestible than Yorgos Lanthimos' other films, which like
because
it didn't make it a bad film to me, but it hasn't stuck with me in the way that his best films did. I thought it was just a bit of fun. It reminded me of like a Terry Gilliam film or something where you're like, whoa, that's cool.
I didn't wasn't on the right vibe for Killing of Sacred Deer.
No one. I don't think anyone was. I saw it at
I saw it in a group.
My work did a screening, and so I was there with a bunch of like cool radio fans, and I was like it was me and like one other person were like laughing in the cinema, and everyone else was like horrified the whole time.
I saw it in the film festival at the Civic with a group of people, and it was like one of those films where you're in there like, oh, okay, so like no one's vibing with this, right? And then you get out, and then sort of like the wankiest person in the group was like, that's the best film I've ever seen. Genius. And you're like, oh, yeah, I need to get new friends.
I walked out and someone was like, the sound design was really stunning, huh? And I was like, oh.
I think like every time I see a film like in that sort of environment, especially when you like go to an advanced screening, which I just want to say, like, you know, like the ones that they have at the cinema, I've never been to a press screening of anything. Amelia has. I have not. Is that I always like freak out and walk out like really, really fast because I hate hearing what people have to say. Because people say the worst stuff in those you know, if there's cinephiles in the audience.
Yeah.
They're always just like, I don't know, they're always like, oh, it's really reminiscent of Paris, Texas. Just about any movie.
Well, when I saw Poor Things, there was like a whole family, like husband and wife, and their like 3 sons of various teenagers, and they were all really excited. They were like, wow, that was so exciting. And I was like,
oh,
yeah,
that's nice.
Sure. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, I just wanted to say I'm glad that Mark Ruffalo has been let out of his little like acting cage, and he's allowed to be an actor again, because he was really good at it.
Yeah, he was really good at it.
Another thing that I am excited about, I have not seen this movie, Nyad. I don't think it's getting a release here.
Yeah,
I probably won't watch Nyad. I think it's on Netflix if you want to see it. However,
you didn't even put it in the list.
No, but when I was looking into information about this film to decide whether I should watch it or not, I stumbled upon the website nyadfactcheck.com, which is like a 1990s, like early 2000s website with all of the lies, apparently, and fabrications done by the real Nyad. And it's totally fascinating.
Just give me like an overview of what the film's about, because I don't think anyone's going to know.
It's about a woman who was a big time swimmer, and then she decides she wants to do some kind of big ocean swim, and it takes her several attempts, but then in the end she heroically does it, I believe is what happens in the movie. But
starring Jodie Foster and Annette Bening.
Yeah, but what we really care about is this website.
I just don't want people to be like, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
So it's got all the times she's lied about other swimmers and had them disqualified from things. It's got a section on times she's lied about the Holocaust. I'm fascinated. And I think, you know what? I might have just talked myself into seeing the movie.
Yeah, I think that you have. I was getting a lot of screenshots of that Nyad website.
I also am interested. So, Rebecca, in the show notes is just the nominees for Best Film, but I'm going off book here. I'm looking at the other nominees. I hope Boy and the Heron wins over Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, because I think people should be banned from making movies that aren't the full movie.
I saw Across the Spiderverse in Lyon.
How was that?
And I saw it in English with no subtitles. So I just forgot that I was in France until at the very end, where it said like, you know, it sort of like ends at the peak of the plot. And then this woman in front of me stood up and was like, ah la la.
Yeah, people.
Just like sort of was like, ah la la, mon ami. And then she like, I can't remember what she said, but she said in French, like, I knew that would happen. And then was like, au revoir, and then just walked off.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend saw it at like Hoyt's or something. And at the end, there was just this collective like, oh, fuck. as it was like to be continued.
Yeah,
Because-
I love that. I just love the contrast of seeing that in Australia. Just everyone being like, oh, fuck. Whereas like, in France, everyone was like, oh.
Oh la la. But I just honestly, very few times in my life have I been to a movie and been like, that was a waste of however much money you spend at the movies. Seeing a movie that was essentially a really long act 2, even if it was a pretty good act 2, I was like, well, so I have to spend another $20 to find out what happens. I feel like I'd been scammed.
I much preferred Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
I was in that movie like, fuck yeah. I was trying to see it for a long time. I couldn't find any screenings of it because I was in Thailand. And then I like finally got to a city that had movies that were showing it. And they were like like we can't talk about this in the podcast, but Phuket has like become overrun by Russians. It's like a huge thing. And like all of the headlines in the Phuket news were like, Phuket is not being overrun by Russians who are draft dodging.
Can we? Are you sure we can't have this in the podcast?
Yeah, we can have this in the podcast, but I mean, I'm not going to like go on about this for 20 minutes.
I'm happy to know just that much about it.
Yeah, they were like, but they were like, all of these Russians who are here, they are normal holiday makers, but everywhere I went, they were buying mattresses. They were walking their dogs.
And they were watching.
They were not watching. There were 2 Russian children running around the cinema and yelling.
Damn.
And I was like, oh, this is like so annoying because I really want to see the Ninja Turtles movie. But I can't,
Sadly, it's not nominated for Best Animated Feature.
What?
Yeah.
What is?
Elemental. Nimona, which was fine.
I don't know what that is.
And Robot Dreams, which I've literally never heard of before.
No, I've never heard of that. I saw a trailer that said they were going to show like all the nominees for Best Short Film. And then at the end of the trailer, it was like, one night only, last night.
Oh, boo.
I was like, oh, okay. Amazing. Do you want to go through the Best Picture nominees and have like a brief
I think we really just need to hit the last big one. Oh no, fuck it. Let's go through it one at a time. We've done American Fiction. We're going to talk about Anatomy of a Fall in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, because we've both just seen it.
Barbie.
I thought it was fine.
I accidentally saw it from the very front of the movies because I booked my tickets too late, and so it was a bit stretched. But overall, I thought it looked really good. The plot was kind of all over the place, but it mostly did what it had to do.
Yeah, it mostly did what it had to do. I saw it on the release day in Munich, and it was also without subtitles. And that meant that it was very obvious that like a lot of people in the audience, I saw it in Dolby as well. It was like the only like Dolby theater in Germany. So like, like massive audience. I don't know, like 700 people, something like that. And it was like really obvious that the jokes were like not hitting. Because it was like mainly young people who had decided that they were confident enough in English to see a movie with no subtitles.
Damn.
And there was just, a lot of just like, like really like sort of like, to me, like as a native English speaker, like obvious jokes that just sort of didn't land and stuff with the audience. And a lot of people were just there for the sort of spectacle, which I think is fine. But like, it's, I don't like it when people are on their phones and taking photos of themselves and stuff, or taking photos of the screen.
Damn. It sounds like we both had suboptimal viewing experiences.
Yeah, I saw it again. I just watched it like at home. And it was like, it was weird because I saw it with my mom, and, there's all that stuff about like, your mom's just a girl and stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, oh, what's this? What's this supposed to be about? Barbie dolls.
The Holdovers I haven't seen yet.
I really love The Holdovers.
It's been, we've had 38-degree days here, and I've also been like personally unwell, and it's really, there were like 3 movies that I wanted to see last week.
Oh,
I just haven't got. No, so I'm going to see The Holdovers as soon as possible. because
it was really nice. I saw it when I saw it when I was in Perth. So that was the same situation of it being like over 30 degrees, and then just like going in this air-conditioned theater and seeing this snow movie.
Oh, snow movie.
It was very cooling. But it was weird. It's different seeing a movie in Australia than New Zealand.
Why?
Just think the audience is a little bit different.
True.
And I saw it in like a theater where it was like a lot of older people, and they kept like commenting on the ads.
They do.
There was,
yeah.
Ads about recycling, and they're like, "Oh, fat lot of good that's gonna do."
Oh no. The special talkback edition of the holdovers.
Yeah, I saw a talkback edition of the holdovers.
We've talked about Killers of the Flower Moon. We've talked about Maestro. I was pleasantly surprised by Oppenheimer. I kind of thought that I might not like it.
You were dragging your feet about it.
It took me ages to get around to watching it. It was a lot of fun. It was so much more goofy than I was expecting.
Everyone who we like spoke to about it was like, I'm really surprised that I actually enjoyed Oppenheimer more than Barbie. And you were like, oh, it's not going to be me.
Well, because people keep being like, oh, it's so serious. But it's not. It's a lot of people looking to camera being like, I wonder how history will judge this moment.
Yeah.
And it's also a movie that's a movie about McCarthyism that is at pains to be like, well, the problem with McCarthyism is not that it got the communists, because they're a bunch of freaks. The problem is that it got the people who slept with communists, and they are largely legit. I thought that was funny. The editing is really fun. The superhero style cameos of famous physicists and mathematicians. I like screamed when Girdle arrived. I was so happy.
Oh, when I saw it, it was so hot. I mean, like, sorry I keep talking about the, like, cinema experience, but maybe, like, add something. I don't know.
That's the movies, you know.
When I saw Oppenheimer, I saw it in the, like, first cinema of Vienna. It was, like, 100 years old.
Oh.
Obviously didn't have air conditioning. It was 32 degrees. I had chocolate in my bag, and it melted onto, like, all my stuff.
Damn.
And I like realized sort of like halfway through and was like trying to like, you know, it's just one of those moments where you're like, am I going to have to lick the back of my phone?
In Oppenheimer during the sex scene?
Oh my God. And the other good thing about Oppenheimer is the autism movie.
Yeah, good, lot of fun.
Do you want me to list what I think is the autism movie out of all of these?
Yeah, go
on
for
the
it.
list? Okay.
Oh, shit, no, let's get to the end first. We've got 3 more movies.
Okay.
Past Lives was underwritten, I thought.
The characters weren't there for me. Yeah. And I like...
Some beautiful cinematography. A little happened.
I like personally found it like a bit offensive. Because like, okay, so the context of this one, I saw it in Thailand and all of the advertising there is Korean. Like that's like the aspirational figure of Thai advertising is that imagine being Korean.
Okay.
Right? That's the like goal culture. You know, like all the ads are just like beautiful, like very much whiter than Southeast Asian people, Koreans, like advertising you everything and like Korean movies, Korean music, everything. And then like being in Bangkok and then seeing Past Lives where the whole movie is like Korea sucks. I'm from this shitty little town called Seoul where nothing ever happens and I didn't make it. And then in the context of this film, making it means moving to New York.
To be a playwright.
And like, I hate it. You know, I have many personal issues with the idea of moving to America to make it as a writer. So I was just like, fuck this. I also like, don't think that Seoul is shitty. And then I like, after that, I went to Seoul with our friend who had also seen Past Lives, and every day we like became more offended by the movie.
Wonderful. Poor Things we've talked about. Zone of Interest we've talked about. All right, go down the Best Picture nominees and tell me which ones are about autism.
Well, I was gonna do the whole from our whole run sheet.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, but Oppenheimer, Poor Things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poor Things very much. Perfect Days, Madam Web.
Interesting.
Madam Web is, oh my God.
Oh, God. Am I going to have to watch Madam Web now?
I loved Madam Web.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, I didn't talk about this before because I just saw it in 2024 before we were talking about 2023, but that was like the most recent movie where I was like sitting in the cinema like, oh my God. What? And it's also like, and you know, in one regard, it's like supposed to be a superhero movie. And in the other regard, it's, for some reason, a very try-hard 2003 period piece.
Yeah, I heard they watch American Idol at one point.
Yeah, she like drowns and then comes back to life and then has a vision. And then the guy from Parks and Rec is like, you need to go to the hospital. And she's like, I'm just going to go home and watch Idol.
Incredible.
And then you see like an ad for American Idol on the train. And there's a shot where like she's like stolen this taxi and then it zooms out and there's a massive billboard for Beyonce's Crazy in Love.
Okay. I'll watch Madam Web then.
Yeah, I just like, and yeah, in the other regard, it's also just a day in the life of being a hot woman with autism.
Incredible. So now
she's like not good at her job. She's like good at her job, but she like can't talk to anyone there. She's like offending everyone all the time. She's like forced into going to this baby shower. She doesn't know how to talk to anyone there. She has to like look after these teens, and the teens are like, "Why are you like this?" And she's like, "I don't know."
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Okay, you've sold. I don't know how you've done it, Rose, but you've sold me on Madam Web.
I was there like, yes.
Now that we've moved into the what have we been watching recently, I want to give a shout out to OSS 117.
Bienvenue au Caire, OSS 117, royaume des pharaons ou des tombeaux mystérieux, mais aussi véritable nid d'espions. La situation en Égypte inquiète en plus haut lieu. Nous avons besoin de vous sur place, d'un expert, un spécialiste du monde arabo-musulman. Arabo-musulman.
Can you say that? How much French do you speak? Can you say that in French?
No, I can't.
Okay. Cairo, Nest of Spies.
I can't say the, you know what I can't say is the number.
That's the bit that he says all the time in the movie that I wanted. That's what I wanted to hear.
117.
Yeah, 117. Yeah. So basically, OSS 117 is like French James Bond, and I think it existed in like the 60s. You know, he's 007, but he's French. It says here that it predates Ian Fleming. Anyway, it's French. It's French James Bond.
Original James Bond.
And inexplicably, in 2006, they made one of these that is like a parody of James Bond, set in Cairo in 1955, and it's like,
you know what other film was set in Cairo? Napoleon.
True. Well, this is the thing. I was like, this French spy movie set in Egypt.
Yeah.
It could be the most racist film you've ever seen.
And you loved it.
It wasn't.
But it's not the most racist film you've ever seen.
It's like an extremely switched on satire. It's very interesting. It is so like.
What's the most racist film you've ever seen?
I saw, I don't know, of all time. Recently I saw Scarlet Woman. That's not what it's called.
Okay.
Scarlet, the one with Bette Davis in it.
Right. I don't know what it is.
Sorry,
I threw you off the track.
So basically Bette Davis wanted to be in Gone with the Wind, and they wouldn't and she missed out on the part. So they made
her a film called Scarlett O'Hara Woman.
They made her a film called I'm gonna have to.
Okay, you Google it. I don't know what's the most racist film I've ever seen.
Okay. They made her film called Jezebel because she wanted to be Scarlett O'Hara. So they made her a film called Jezebel.
Yeah.
And it is the most like It's like slave apologia. It sucks so bad. And a lot of the reviews are like, oh yeah, sure, it's a bit racist, but it's like she's really good in it. She's not. I love Bette Davis. This movie sucks so bad. It's so terrible. Anyway, OSS 117 is not anything like that. It's silly when it needs to be silly. It's intelligent when it needs to be intelligent. If you know a little bit about French colonial political history, there's a lot of like gags about like, oh, well, what could go wrong in Algeria? Like,
okay.
It's really good.
It's something for everyone.
It's like it's interesting to put it alongside the most famous like spy movie parody, Austin Powers. So like Austin Powers is like totally. I'm an Austin Powers defender. Austin Powers is totally in love with like 60s media.
Yeah.
And it has like a billion
amazing soundtrack.
Yeah, and it has like a billion different references, and I think if you've seen The Prisoner and The Saint and like every single and The Avengers, you'll probably get more out of Austin Powers than someone who hasn't. But like, that is kind of what it's interested in. Whereas this is so much more interested in like, it looks like it could be like a 60s Sean Connery Bond, like it's shot like that, but everything is just like satirical, like politically satirical. It's really good. I was shocked at how good it was. I thought it would be like novel to watch this like silly French James Bond parody. It was so good.
Where are we going?
10 stars.
10 stars. Where are we going from here on the list?
You can say another movie you've been watching, and then we can talk about Anatomy of a Fall if you want.
Okay. I was going to talk a little bit about Ferrari.
And so, you're going broke. How? You spend more than you make.
With Adam Driver.
With Adam Driver and Penelope Cruz.
Directed by Michael Mann.
This movie has some of the worst accent work I've ever heard, and comparable to another project.
Is it like House of Gucci?
Oh, it is like House of Gucci. So when we saw it, we decided that it was like a cross between a House of Gucci and Final Destination. And one other film, but I can't remember what. But it was very much like, it was like House of Gucci. You know, they're in Italy and they're just like, no one's doing the accent well. Penelope Cruz is like, okay, but you know, she's Spanish, so, and they're speaking English. It doesn't sound that hugely different.
Yeah.
But everyone is like, Ferrari, why you do this to me? You make me go to the bank and withdraw all this money and I don't know what it's for. And then he's like got this like mistress who's like, Ferrari, why are you doing this to me? Our son is going to school and I am in love with you. It's just like, the accents are like bad. And every scene is like super like melodramatic. And it's very obvious which characters are going to die in these honestly Final Destination like car crash scenes. One of them, the second, like there's two major car crash scenes, and the first one you're like, oh fucking hell, like it's a lot, you know, like New Zealand drunk driving ad sort of level. And then the second one is like one of the most like violently horrific things I've ever seen in cinema.
Incredible.
It's just it's just shocking to like pair these two types of scene. And like I was saying, like, you know who's gonna die because they're like, don't worry about me, my darling, I am going to be back after I race this track. And then we will become married.
Do you think they're gonna let Adam Driver be another Italian historical figure? What's your
he's quite grumpy about it.
Oh no!
He's like, stop pigeonholing me.
Oh, they should let him do the trilogy. Come on, make him do it.
What do you want him to be?
Who?
Do you want him to be Mussolini?
No. Someone more fun than that. The guy who made those like plastic guitars in the 60s or something.
Oh my god. How about that guy. The Italo disco guy.
Oh, Pino D'Angio?
Yeah. Yeah, him.
I would pay $100 to see the Adam Driver Pino D'Angio biopic, and I bet other people would as well. Okay. Before
we started recording, you were outraged I had spent $70 on a clock.
Yeah, a clock is nothing. The film where you get to see him writing Maquelle idea incredible.
I would see in Italian roles I would see him doing that, or I would see a film about him being Mussolini but the whole film is about him building Cinecittà.
Or it's all about the trains. It's just like the other stuff happens off screen and he's like, this train schedule still isn't right.
And I would not like to see him as Berlusconi.
No, absolutely not.
It would be boring.
Okay, before we talk about Anatomy of a Fall, I just want to briefly shout out Walker, which is a 1987 film that I saw.
It's not about Paul Walker.
The unthinkable has happened. The United States has invaded Nicaragua. An American has declared himself president.
No, it's not. It's about a guy called William Walker, who was a 19th century mercenary who declared himself president of Nicaragua. And basically, like, as far as I understand the story, Alex Cox, who directed like Sid and Nancy and Repo Man, got a bunch of money from the studio and was like, well, I know what I'm going to do with this. Went to Nicaragua in 1987. Well, I guess in 1986. And like got together with the Sandinista government to make this movie because he was just so mad about American interference in Nicaragua with the Contras. Yeah. And so made this like furious and surreal like Western with a soundtrack by old mate from oh my God. What's the Hey Rebecca. What's the famous British punk band? Not Sex Pistols, the other one. Joe Strummer from The Clash.
Pistols, The Clash, yeah. I had that album cover in my head.
I
was thinking The Strokes, and I was like, no, it's not The Strokes.
Joe Strummer does like an incredible kind of like South American inspired like buzzy 80s soundtrack for it. The whole thing just is really good and really like weird and furious. Like it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it's maybe the most audacious movie I've ever seen.
It would be a surprise if Walker was the best movie you'd ever seen.
Yeah, but it was and now Alex Cox since then has never worked with a major studio until they're bringing him back for Repo Man 2. So interesting to see.
They're bringing him back for Repo Man 2 and he's been gone since 1987.
Yeah,
is that what you're telling me?
He's made other movies, but not with like big studios. They're like with bizarre low budget things. Yeah. But yeah, Walker, 1987. Good movie.
I think we should say the other ones.
What,
we both
been
really liked
lately?
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Oh yeah, I watched it on the plane and I had a lovely time.
It was and that was like interesting for me because that was the first movie I saw Benny Safdie in.
He's so good in it. The man's got range.
Yeah. Oh no, I saw Oppenheimer first, but I didn't know who he was. Like it was the first movie since I knew who he was that I was watching. Yeah, he's got range.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was talking to my friend about The Curse, which Benny Safdie is also in, and he thought that Benny Safdie's performance was like he was like not that good in it, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's probably on purpose.
Yeah, it's on purpose.
I've seen him in other stuff.
On purpose, yeah.
And he's like, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Dude's good at acting.
That was interesting. That was an interesting perspective, the end of The Curse, because I think that the two people I spoke to about it, you being one of them, we all like watch so much weird stuff all the time. And we also have like a tenuous grip on reality. So just thought the end of the curse was like quite normal.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, hell yeah, of course.
I was like, yeah, of course. So yeah.
It might happen to me one day.
Yeah, it could happen. I was like, yeah, it could happen to anyone.
No spoilers for the curse here.
No spoilers, but it could happen to anyone.
It could happen to anyone. So we both saw Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I think he fell off that third floor. The window's open.
The autopsy report is inconclusive. An accidental fall is going to be hard for us to defend. That's why there's an investigation for a more suspicious death. Because you were the only person there. And of course, you're his wife.
Stop. I did not kill him.
I did not.
Which is, it's winning a bunch of awards. It just won, what did Sandra Hüller?
César.
Yes.
And then someone's done a translation that's winning. Last night I was having to translate her speech myself.
She's incredible. She's like the most German person ever.
Yeah, and it was really funny because you were like messaging me about like these clips of her and how she's so German, and then she won the award like during that conversation, and then someone posted saying, I don't know what she's saying in her speech, and the clip was her saying, I can't believe this, but I'm German. Win the César if you're German.
I thought Anatomy of a Fall was pretty good.
One of 2 novelist movies nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars with American Fiction.
I think the most interesting thing to me about it was the like autofiction writers are insane people angle.
Yes.
Which it was very much like that.
It's not for everyone, but
that article that came out recently about the woman who almost got a divorce from her husband,
but she didn't.
And they are both autofiction writers.
And the other and then there was like another writer who was like really angry with her for not getting divorced because she had sent her a message saying, "You'll get through this. I'm personally writing this book about my own divorce." And then she felt betrayed by this writer, like not getting divorced in the end. Like, this is what autofiction writers are like.
And that stuff really was fun to me.
It's like, it was very, very interesting.
Totally
like,
fascinating.
Their perspective on their own autofiction, and also like the general, like the outsider's perspective, like sort of represented by that lawyer. Of like whether you can use autofiction like in a court of law. Like, of course you can't.
Fiction's in the name. I will say I found the ambiguity over the trial and stuff a lot less compelling than other people seem to.
I didn't think it was very ambiguous.
It doesn't. Well, yeah, that's the thing. To me, it seems like, and to me, this is also like what stopped me from being like, hell yeah, this film's incredible, is that the logic that propels the decisions in the film, like the things that make the characters do what they do, it's all very like calculated, and you can basically like work out what has happened based on like cost benefit analysis done by the characters. There's like a very like solid line for like what happened and how you work out what happened. And
this is like interesting because we haven't talked about this, so I don't know what you think happened.
We haven't talked about this, so maybe we'll fully disagree, and this will enrich my understanding.
Are you going to say?
But I just want to finish my analysis thing. Just because I watched like a lot of old movies and a lot of like noir movies and stuff, and the thing that I love about them is how like confusing they are, and how characters will do things just because they were basically like lashing out in a totally incoherent way.
What is that noir film that's set in Indonesia?
Oh, I cannot remember the name of it.
As being one of the most racist movies that I've seen.
That one was pretty racist. Very beautifully shot though. But yeah, I just okay. So spoilers for Anatomy of a Fall. I think that the husband definitely killed himself.
Yes, I agree.
And the son basically makes up his testimony at the end because he realizes that if he doesn't do it, then he won't have either parent.
Yeah.
And even though he loves his dad more than his mom, he's like, oh, better
That's
have
what
a
I
mom
thought as well.
Yeah, because
but I thought that was like very interesting because like when he was saying his testimony at the end, when he was giving his testimony, I was like, this isn't true. But I thought it was like a very interesting story to have made up.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I think it works in the movie, and there's like a nice amount of ambiguous to the extent that you like, feel good that you figured it out. You know,
I think you know, like as is reality, there is like a nice amount of sort of understanding to what degree. I don't know, like understanding the degree of certainty there is about what happened.
Yeah.
And then comparing that to the degree of certainty you need in a court of law to prove what happened is different.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you need, so like that's sort of like, you know, at the end of the film, the son realizes that he has to elevate that degree of certainty by providing a false testimony.
Yes.
Or sort of maybe like based on something that really happened, but not in a way that really compels.
Yeah, but
the jury
altered or you know,
script doctored.
It's
a lot like going to the doctor.
Yeah, well, you have to be like you have to say the thing in a certain way in order to get them to care about.
Yeah, because if you're like, I feel bad, but I guess I've felt bad since I was 12. Then they're like, oh, well, that's whatever. But if you're like, I have this sudden pain and I've never experienced anything like this before. Like, that's like more compelling to a doctor.
It's, I think like, I don't know, I'm kind of like torn because all of that stuff and like the flashback with the dad telling him and all the things like that. Are like the mechanism that makes the end of the movie work. But they're also like slightly annoying to me when I'm watching them in the film. like
okay. Yeah, because I definitely enjoyed it more than you did.
Yeah, I just the flashbacks seemed like, I don't know. I just I was like, for some of them, I was like, whose perspective is this? Because so much of the rest of the film was like, it was like, is this the perspective of the jury? Yeah, I guess for me it was like
when they were listening to the recording, I was like, who is sort of seeing this play out?
Yeah, absolutely. And This it's weird to explain because I feel like for most people this sounds like I've like overanalyzed the film, but this is actually just how it hits my brain. Is that like I felt like some of the cinematography was really motivated and some of it wasn't, and that was distracting for me.
I felt like that about the focusing on the like icy roads.
Yes.
I mean, like after seeing like goddamn Ferrari, you're like, oh, they're gonna crash. It keeps focusing on these like it has all these unfocused shots of this like snowy road and this like shitty car, and they're like talking, and there was like one point where I was not gonna say the avocat, the lawyer had been drinking and then he drove up that like hectic road in the Alps, and then nothing happened because I guess that's France.
That's France, yeah. Yeah, and I think just like, there were just like a few tensions with things like that stopped me from fully enjoying the film because I'm a freak.
You don't have to call yourself a freak on the podcast. I don't think that normies are going to be listening to this.
Okay. Well, So for me, the things that stopped it being like 10 out of 10 were, one, all of the emotional decisions being very like logically driven in a way that wasn't that satisfying for me. And two, cinematography that made me in the movie go, why is this happening like this?
Right.
Yeah. otherwise, good film. And I loved the sassy prosecution lawyer.
Oh, amazing. Everyone in the cinema. Okay, the context of this cinema is that I just saw it last week on $5 Wednesday, and it's the first week of uni, so like everyone there was sort of student age film fans who obviously like wanted to see this movie before the Oscars and had missed out. It was like one of those films that was on at like 10 a.m. at Rialto.
Oh yes,
like in November or whatever, and they like they brought it back, so it was like quite full in a Wednesday afternoon, and everyone just cracked up when he started accusing her of being like a bisexual predator.
That bit is so incredible. Yeah, there's lots of things in the movie that are like really fascinating to me. I think maybe I would enjoy it more on a rewatch, because there was heaps of stuff with like her
I think that you would.
Becoming less and less able to speak French in the court.
Yes, it's very interesting as language fans.
Yeah, that I found really fascinating.
Because she had to like learn her lines. So they had like recorded her giving her evidence and her testimony, I guess, in English, and then they had like translated it for her, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And she had learned it, but like as the case became like more emotional and she was like being antagonized by this prosecutor, she like
homophobic queen.
This homophobic queen in his little red cape gown, I guess, and she just like wasn't able to do it, which is like intensely relatable to me.
That stuff was really fascinating to me, and I think
that like one of my favorite parts was that when the husband says that that everything that they do is like on her turf, and he's referring to how they speak English. Even though he made her move to Grenoble.
I know.
And they like live in France. Everything's like happening in French. And now, after he dies, she's like, dude, this whole fucking court case in French. And he's like, and you make me speak your language. And she's like, my language is not English. My language is German. And their child doesn't even speak German either. There's no German in the whole movie.
I just realised that we haven't said what this movie is about or what happens.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Maybe
the guy
I'll
falls out of the house and dies, and they're like, "Oh, whoops, what happened?" And they're both autofiction writers.
And they're both autofiction writers. And the wife gets accused of murdering him, and then the whole movie is going through the trial, and then it turns out that the son has the crucial evidence that will prove the case either way.
And he's blind.
Which doesn't really.
Sorry to say it in the fucking exact tone of that meme. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, it's a meme. Oh god, it's like it's a news presenter, and the woman goes, "He climbed Mount Everest, and not only that, he's gay." Oh, I'm so sorry. He's gay. Oh, he's blind. He was blind. He was not gay. Or maybe he was gay, but it was inconsequential.
There are gay blind people out there.
Anyway, the son is blind.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to the last little bit of the podcast today.
I didn't talk about Perfect Days. I just quickly talked about Perfect Days.
But I want to see it. Let's talk about it next time.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I loved it.
Oh yeah, well maybe I'll hate it, and then we can have an argue about it.
Maybe
We'll
you'll be like,
it's not as
good as it's not as good as Remembering Every Night, and I'll be like, well, I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Well, thumbs down. Okay. So what are you looking forward to at the movies, at the cinema, in the photo play?
Well, I said that I'm going to go and see Zone of Interest, and then we looked up what films are forthcoming, and we're just like horrified.
Yeah, not heaps on.
Wicked, no.
No, looks bad. Have you seen Godzilla -1 yet?
Yeah, I saw it at Christmas.
I liked that one.
Yeah, I liked it too, but it wasn't like, I think the week that I saw it, there was an online discourse about if it was the best film ever made.
No,
and I was like, it's not the best film ever made.
It's very good though.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the big Lesbo movies that are coming out.
What's Love Lies Bleeding? What is that?
That is the one
is that the Kristen Stewart one?
Yes, about the bodybuilder, and they do like a murder and they drive across the country or something. It's got Kristen Stewart and Ed Harris in it, so I can't see how it will be anything other than really good.
Oh, you know what movie I hated?
What?
Is it called Bones and All? I can't think
is that the cannibalism movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that was romantic. It wasn't.
We're taking a strong anti-cannibalism stance on the podcast.
Well,
today.
the cannibalism was fine. I had no problem with that aspect of the movie, but it was just like, I think that once again, like Past Lives, it's one of those underwritten romance movies where you don't understand why the characters would realistically be in love with each other.
Interesting.
You're just like, I don't know, I don't really see this for you guys. And they're like, I would kill for you. And you're like, oh. I think that's like a problem with being over 30 as well. You can't really buy into these things very easily.
Well, I'm hoping to buy into Drive Away Dolls.
That you've put dolls in inverted commas.
Yeah, because it's originally called, and apparently still says in the movie, it's called Drive Away Dykes. But they couldn't call it that.
I thought that you put it in inverted commas because you were taking a stand at the appropriation of trans terms.
No. Although I did think it was an interesting choice to substitute dolls for dykes. But, so this is the movie directed by Ethan Coen, one of the Coen brothers alone, written by Ethan Coen and his lesbian wife.
Oh. See, that's the sort of thing that you can buy into when you're over 30, having a lesbian wife.
Yeah, so someone can fact check me on this, but apparently, like when they met, she was like a lesbian, but then they fell in love, and then they got married. But she is still queer, and they have like a polycule or something.
It's similar to the person who won Drag Race Mexico. Was like gay and like. It was just like a gay drag queen in Mexico, and then like met someone in the audience who was like a straight woman, and then they just fell in love and got married.
That's beautiful.
I'm looking at the list of Coen Brothers movies.
Well, if you look at Trisha Cook, who's the co-writer, the lesbian wife, she's the editor for heaps of them. So, which is partly why I'm excited about this, because I like editors, and
I've only seen Fargo out of all of these.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, we might have to make a project of this. I think you should watch.
Did they really make Bad Santa?
No, did they?
I think this is one of those, like, you know how Google doesn't work anymore.
Yes.
And obviously I'm not looking into it very hard because I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So it's coming up with Bad Santa, and I don't think that they directed that.
No, they didn't direct it. Apparently they wrote the story uncredited.
Rewrites. Okay.
Terry Zwigoff. You should watch some Coen Brothers movies. They're quite good.
I've only seen Fargo and The Section and Praise Your Tim.
How did you manage not to see Oh Brother, Where Art Thou in the 2000s? I feel like everyone had that on DVD.
Well, I mean, I had like a slightly different life than other people.
La-di-da.
No, not in a la-di-da way. As in, like, I didn't have any siblings and only lived with my mom. So, like, and I sort of was definitely by far the driver of buying DVDs. So...
Okay.
And at no point was I like, I was 9 when that came out. I was not like, I'm going to buy Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But I did see Fargo because I had like a film friend, a male film fan friend at high school who was like, you have to watch it.
I'm going to we're going to pause the podcast quickly, and I'm going to force you to watch this clip of Jennifer Jason Leigh in The Hudsucker Proxy.
Okay.
Fake. Huh? I tell you, the guys are phony.
Phony, huh?
as a $3 bill.
Says who?
Says me, Amy Archer. Why is he an idea man? Because Hudsucker says he is? What are his ideas? Why won't they let anyone interview him? Genius.
$5 says she mentions her Pulitzer.
Why won't they tell us a single solitary thing?
Oh my god, the first comment
Just
sucks.
take a look at the mug on this guy. The
What is the
jutting
top
eyebrows,
comment?
the simian forehead, the idiot.
Jennifer nailed a retro character, the fast-talking, wisecracking dame, a character type popularized by actresses like Bette Davis and Barbara Stanwyck in the 1940s. Hadn't been seen in decades, her cadences and accent were perfect, and the writing of the Coen brothers helped too.
That's not what she's referencing.
No, it's His Girl Friday.
I'm sorry. Yeah! It's like His Girl Friday and like bringing up Baby. Anyway.
Okay, we'll finish.
Okay. So that's my homework for you, Raz, as we
Just
come
to
to the
watch
end of the
every
podcast.
Coen brothers movie.
No, just watch the Hudsucker Proxy so you can see Jennifer Jason Leigh be a screwball dame in it.
I feel like I've mentioned not having seen a lot of stuff in this podcast, but that's
the nature of life.
That's not true of life. It's not true of life. I was just like, oh no, people are going to listen to our podcast and be like, this lady hasn't seen anything. She's only seen that film noir that's set in Indonesia that no one can remember the name of.
I think that movie might be called The Letter.
Really?
Oh, no. No, this isn't it. Oh, no. Yes, no, this is it. The wife of a British rubber plantation manager in Malaya shoots a guy.
Sorry, I thought it was in Indonesia.
It's called The Letter.
I think that they... Oh, yeah, no. Here we go. I wasn't being racist about the film that I think is racist. In the aftermath of the trial, Robert announces to Leslie and Joyce that he plans to buy a rubber plantation in Sumatra to give him and Leslie a fresh start. But everyone there would have been speaking Dutch at that time, all the white people. Oh, yeah, God, here we go. Ong tells Joyce that the original is in the possession of Hammond's widow, a Eurasian woman who lives in the Chinese Quarter.
Okay.
So that's sort of the vibe of the movie, The Letter.
That's The Letter. But no, I think the podcast...
1940 it came out.
I think the podcast
It came out during World War II. It's fucked up.
I think the podcast is going really well.
And we can do it even better one the second time.
Exactly. You can find me, Amelia, on Twitter as @Mealy_worm, or on Letterboxd, which I guess is probably pertinent to this.
Find us on Letterboxd
as Mealyworm without the underscore, and you can see that I've actually recently seen more films than this, but you guys don't want to hear about 1978's The Silent Partner.
I don't like Priscilla.
Damn.
I don't know what my Letterboxd username is. Okay, I do know what it is, but I'm not saying it.
Why?
Because I just made it like a random combination of letters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it not RKR Rodeo?
That's my website.
Ah. Should they just go to your website?
Yeah, well, you can find me by just Googling my name, Rebecca K. Riley.
La-di-da.
No, I mean, because I have a website and stuff. I mean, that's how you find, like, honestly, Amelia, that's how you find people on the internet these days. You're not typing in at and then something with an underscore.
Yeah, well, okay. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd, and you can find Rebecca on Google. Do you have a clever sign-off line?
No, I don't. No, but my last thought, maybe we can talk about this in the future, is that I find it very, very strange when people have takes about how they feel like there should be laws about how serious you need to be on Letterboxd, because Letterboxd, like ours, is from Auckland.
True. Get in touch if you think people should be more or less serious on Letterboxd.
Okay.
My big issue with Letterboxd, this is my closing remark, is that the people on there really hate pervert movies.
Oh,
and so it really skews the scores against any movie that is totally for degenerates and freaks.
Yeah, including Maestro.